Slow down, you move too fast. Gotta make the morning last. Kicking down the cobblestones, looking for fun, feeling groovy. Da 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 da, feeling groovy.
Well, welcome everybody to the bridge. We've got a great guest today. We've got Bruce Huntley, and he's going to be talking to us about kind of what he does and what his passions are. But first, Sandy, have you got a quote for us?
I sure do. Let me grab that really quick. There are so many great things in life. Why dwell on negativity? And that's by Zendaya.
Okay. So, welcome, Bruce. And Bruce tells me he's from the Houston area, so he's not buried in snow today.
Yes.
And
Yes. No.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you and kind of what you do?
Well, thank you for having me on
Yeah.
to meet on the in the
Meeting
hundreds.
on
I
the
love that. I love that. We're in the hundreds. I'm in special company here.
You are.
Yes, but thank you. I'm Bruce Huntley. I am a coach, consultant, and national international speaker. We have three lines of business where we help nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and some small businesses get the results they're looking for, either through their people, through themselves, or through their systems. So.
Okay. And you've been an entrepreneur for how many years?
Now I've been an entrepreneur forever. I think even as a kid, I was. So I grew up in Muskogee, Oklahoma. So
Okay.
I am. We're old enough to remember. I am an Okie from Muskogee.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that say that they're an Okie from Muskogee, but I am an Okie from Muskogee.
Actually,
You are the real thing, huh?
I am the real thing.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I had an old pickup truck. My grandfather bought me an old pickup, and I used to at the end, haul whatever I could haul to get some money. So it's
Right.
been in my blood since I was, old enough to drive, and really I was
that's
driving before I had a driver's license. So
sure.
just being able to get out there and people call me, hey, I need this moved. I'm there. I'm gonna move it, whatever it is. So
So
Yeah.
you were listening to the community and you were responding.
yes, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so what I'm not trying to think of a good trait to call that. We're responsive maybe
Yeah.
and a good listener. What other entrepreneurial traits came from being an Okie from Muskogee?
Just that hard work. I think being able to understand what is going on around you and being able to capitalize.
Mhm.
That was one of the things that listening, I think, was really important, but really being able to capitalize on being able to, if there's I don't know if you know anything about Muskogee, but Muskogee is really small. It's we had probably 20, 30,000 people at the time, so it's a pretty small city. Um, and so being able to go around and say, okay, I can cut yards, I can do. There was an enormous amount of things that we could do.
Mhm.
I remember summers going out and baling hay. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with that, but you get
It's hard work, hard labor.
yeah, 60 long and 10 high, and you're just going for it, and you're going as fast as you can and trying to get those bales up on the truck. So whatever it is, I've always tried to be there and make money and work hard at it. So
Right. It reminds me, Bruce, when you're talking about I remember my dad talking about the depression, and his dad was a pastor, and there's three boys and a daughter, and they had to do whatever they could to
Yeah.
meet the need to make change. And that sounds like that's exactly what you did, is you saw the need and you were willing to do the hard work to get there.
Yeah.
I think in some ways our society has gotten so spoiled, we don't understand what it is like to roll up our sleeves and really do the hard work many times.
Yeah. I remember we used to have old pear tree out in the back, and one day I was sitting up there in the pear tree with one of my friends, Edward, and we were just eating pears. And I said, I bet you we could sell these. So we
Oh,
we we got
good,
a closed basket, and we filled it up, and we went
good.
around to neighbors, and I don't we probably made, you know, probably $1, but it was just, the fact of, we had the idea of, hey,
Mhm.
here's some free stuff that we could take and make some dollars off of, and
Right.
really kind of do that. So it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Well, the dollar for a kid seems like a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we
Well,
probably spent it all right that day too.
yeah. You took what was there and you capitalized on it. But I'm hunching that because you've been in the corporate world for a really long time and then you branched out on your own. Talk to me about where your customer service comes from, because I'm sure you're great with customers.
Well, I think that comes from, one of the things I spent a lot of time. I was an HR executive for many many years, and started at Target. Um, Actually, I started at Target while I was in getting my master's degree,
Mhm.
and over Christmas, I was trying to get um, some Christmas presents for my family. I just wanted to do it part time. I was going to get in, do it a couple of months over Christmas, and be gone. Well, I ended up staying there 18 years. So,
Wow.
Oh,
um,
really?
so it just and I grew through Target, and I think that's where it really kind of helped me synthesize the customer service. If you know anything about Target, the guest is always the main objective. How do we satisfy the guest? And so that really helped me hone that muscle to really kind of be able to do that. And then as I got into healthcare technology and manufacturing, the guest at Target now became the employee. And so how do I make the employee experience and their way of working and coming to work so enjoyable that they want to come back each and every day, or they want to do it on the weekend, or whatever the case may be, just want to be able to make sure that that's it. And so that's been my drive all the time, to really kind of help people really be able to do that.
That's
So,
great.
Dr. Bruce, I'm assuming that when you started at Target, you started from the bottom up, and you had to figure out how to make it work as you kept going up through the ranks, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't
And
that make a difference? Because then you've been there, done that. So you actually have the understanding of what your employees and your guests, how they operate.
yeah. And I think one other thing too is I played basketball all my life, really, and through high school, little of college. And so really taking those lessons.
Right.
Uh, I've always been, I never wanted to be the man, right? I never wanted to be that person, but I was always the person beside the person, right? So
Right.
really being able to help and be there and understand what needs to happen next, what needs to be done, and really taking those lessons and then taking those lessons into Target, and then using their stuff on top of that really kind of elevated it made it very easy for me to grow in the
Sure.
organization, because I had a lot of that stuff already ingrained in me. I just needed to refine it.
Right.
Right. Well, we have a category that has kind of emerged from the work that we've been doing with people and talking, and we call it community building. which
Yes.
a lot of our people like to call it servant leadership, which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
finding the need and then, fulfilling it. And then the other thing that it has to do with building the culture of the
Right.
company. Yeah,
Right.
and it's so
Yeah.
important. Sandy has a great experience with building a culture where she was so that people wanted to come to work and they could have fun at work. It wasn't just, oh no, here we go again,
Right.
and so it's
Right.
culture building, and it's so important to have people want to come to work and be a part
Yeah.
of a team.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
brings out
I
the best
couldn't.
creativity and problem solving or anything that you're doing is when you love your job, when you love the people you're working with, or when you have ways of being able to work out problems as they occur so you can have open communication and problem solving skills. It makes a huge difference in the outcome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It makes everything so much easier. It makes
Right.
everything easier. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the other
Mhm.
thing, and I don't remember who said this, but there was some, high level leader somewhere. And one thing he said to people that he was either hiring or just who he talked to, and he said, I never had a job I didn't love.
Mhm.
And I really think, I mean, some people roll their eyes when I say that, but it's kind of important to have that energy and excitement about no matter whether you're selling a pear or or you're helping the people at Target be a good team member.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier is how I now can really select my clients and
Mhm.
really be able to really be able to understand and listen for if there is a mission and
Right.
there's a value and there's values there that they are sticking to.
Right.
I can help them do that. I can help you stay in that lane
Right.
because it's so easy to get off drift or get onto a drift if you're not structured or you're not in that space.
Right.
But if there's not, I'm probably not going to be the person that you need to work with because I have to believe and have to be on that mission with you and be
Yeah.
able to help and
Well,
hold you accountable to that mission when you start to drift. So,
right.
yeah,
Yeah. It
But I
has
think
to
it
be.
often comes down to the why. Why do we do what we do? Why are
yes,
we here? What is
Uh,
the purpose behind it? You know, we have Sue and I've talked to several people over the last podcast, and that is the answer that almost needs to the question that has to be answered at the very beginning to be able to do goal setting, to have it be
yes,
meaningful, to have it from the heart.
yeah,
yeah, to have that real meaning, because just making the buck doesn't there's no passion in that. People
right.
think there is, but there really isn't. And the why is very important and especially values driven. What do you have a word or a couple of words that are the most important value words for you?
Um, my values are humility and temperance. They really go together. Service and integrity.
Yeah.
I like
So I know I didn't get here by myself. I had a lot of people that helped me, and so I'm humbled by that.
Mhm.
Really am. I'm in service. I really believe that you have to be able to help. What's the saying? You until you help enough people get what they want, you will never get what you want.
right.
And
That's
I
right.
really believe that. And so,
Yeah.
and then really integrity. I believe that I'm going to hold um, I'm going to hold my word to myself more than I hold my word to anyone else. We
Yeah.
have a habit of lying to ourselves more than we would lie to anybody else. So I want to be able to hold my word to myself more than I would to anyone else.
Yeah.
Well,
That's good.
people know when you're faking it, Bruce.
Yes.
Catch on to that pretty fast. You know, if your words don't, if your actions don't match up with your words, you lose your audience.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah.
And especially if you're doing it face to face, like now, kind of it is on my own. So really being able to talk with, especially nonprofits and faith-based nonprofits, they're really looking for, their antenna is really up about somebody's trying to take advantage of me,
Mhm.
and I really have to, we the I hate to say it like that, but the sales cycle is longer because they have to really trust you. They have to understand that you're not just in it to get a buck, you're in it to help them get what they want.
Right.
Right.
And so being able to stay in that space and really be able to understand that and stay in that space is important for me, not only for me as an individual, but for my business. So,
Sure. Yeah, it goes a lot further than just, I mean, trust is imperative,
yeah,
and truth telling is a huge piece of trust,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
because the minute that is breached, then it takes a long time, if at all, to be able to rebuild that.
Right.
yeah,
Well, I think respect goes out of trust, don't you? So if I can trust you and I know your word is golden, then I can also respect your word, right?
yes,
And I think
yes,
they goes together.
yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely goes together. Definitely goes together.
yeah.
Definitely.
I remember one of my mentors that I used to call her. I used to say she's like gold, because she's the same on the outside as she is on the inside. It was whatever the depth was. It was the same on the top as it was on the bottom.
Yeah,
And that integrity is so very important. And I wish it was a higher value for more people nowadays. You, but you know it when you see it. You
yes.
definitely know it when people are not telling the truth, and you can feel it in their energy, whether or not they're looking you in the eye, or just whether or not you feel it or not. And
And that's important because I didn't realize, it was probably 2014 when I realized, and that was late, that really that energy um, around people makes a huge difference.
yeah,
Right.
And when I was in healthcare technology, and really being in the C-suite, and really being able to interact with people, and understanding what that energy was and what that energy looked like, and really being able to see, okay, is this person out for our organization? Are they out for themselves? How does this, and then how does my energy interact with that,
hmm
to still make this productive? And because we still going to have to work together, we're still going to have to do those things that we need to get done. So how do I keep my integrity? How do I keep my values, and still be able to deal with that
Right.
energy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's a balancing act, isn't it? One of the
yeah,
things that Sue has told us throughout the years as she coached our program or our culture was lean into it with curiosity, because then the judgment is not there. You can still stand where you stand, but by leaning in, you're really hearing the other person's voice. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but that means that you don't have to feel defensive about it, right?
right, right.
yeah. So can you give us an example of a time when there was a disparity in the energy, and you had to hold the line, or what did you do to continue to work with that person?
Um, uh, Let me think. One good one. I, I'm trying to make this clean, uh, but we had a CFO, that was not was not on the straight and narrow, if I could say that, right? And so, one point, um, we were doing budgets and all this stuff, and at that point, I think I had like a $71 million budget, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and some stuff looked off kilter, and we're going back and forth, and we're having these budget meetings because you remember, you start in July, you
Yeah.
end in the end of September, and so by the end of September, your budget's set for the next year. So we're going back and forth, we're going through these things, and I just understand something's off, something's not right, something's happening between everybody, and I can see it, but I can't put my finger on it.
Right, right.
So really being able to then, who is it? John Maxwell talks about, I think it is the meeting after the meeting and the
Yeah.
meeting before the meeting, right? And so really being able to then go in and say, okay, hey, let's figure out what this is.
Mm.
To Sandy's point, be curious about what that looks like. What is going on? Really kind of forming those questions, because one of the things I got interested in coaching back in the '90s, when I was reading about Tony Robbins. I think it was his first book. Him and Clarence McClendon. Um, he was uh, he was a black coach, and he was the first person that I saw that looked like me. And I was like, man, that's fascinating. Like, this guy's a neuro guy, and he's got all this stuff. And so really, I learned a lot from reading his stuff, because he was able to then kind of set you back and say, okay, how do you get curious about something like that and really be able to stay in your lane, in yourself, but still
Yeah.
be curious and find out what that looks like. And so doing that, really going and having those meetings after the meeting, and kind of figuring out what's going on, and then being able to go to the CEO and say, hey, look, this is what's happening. I don't have definitive evidence that this is what's happening, but this is what's happening. And and then being able to then kind of broker that meeting to kind of get them back on the same page. And now, instead of really them kind of doing things, parallel, and really doing double work, now they're working together, and now everybody's working in the same spot, and now that energy, like we talked about earlier, just blossoms. Now everything works so much faster, so much
Yeah.
quicker. It was a great thing. So that's one of those things where, the CFO just didn't really want to tell the CEO this was not going to work, and
Yeah.
nobody wanted to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
A hard job.
Yeah.
Well, and
Hard conversation.
curiosity is a higher level energy than judgment is. Because
Yes.
the minute you throw in your 2 cents and become judgmental, then people shut down.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that can really be helpful if so that's so I want to talk to you again about some energy, because you're a public speaker.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you
Right.
the energy in a room full of people, or a large team meeting.
Well, it's if you would have told me as a kid I was going to be a public speaker, because I am
Right.
the biggest introvert that you will ever, even today, I did a little bit of public speaking, and then Sunday I was in front of a large group. And so, uh, and I always tell people, I have to go after I do it. I have to take a nap, because I'm
Drained.
just
Yeah.
right. And so, I can't remember, a couple of years ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, I heard somebody say that they are a contextual extrovert. And so that's what I do. So when I can, and I go back to my basketball, right? So when I'm going out and playing basketball, it was just the crowd usually just disappears, right? And it's just me, 10 other people on the court and the basketball. So same thing there. Um, the people kind of disappear. We're interacting and we're going back and forth and we're talking and we're having fun. But that is just part of the people subbing in and out of the basketball game, if you will. So I can keep that energy up for an hour or 2 hours. If I do a workshop, it may be even 3 or 4 hours. But afterwards, I'm spent. It's over.
It's out of your natural desire to want to do that, but you do it anyway, and you're brave, and you get up there and you share what you know
Yeah,
to the people that are listening. And I mean, that's amazing, because they say that public speaking is right there with paying taxes or dying. They say, it's a real fear for people.
yeah,
Well, and one thing that I appreciate about introverts is they're very deep thinkers, and they always have probably thought things through and analyze things maybe a bit more than some of those extroverts.
yeah,
You know, so
yeah,
if you can have confidence in kind of what you know, and know that
yeah.
they're seeing your integrity, and moving forward, it actually is a big bonus to be an introvert, even if you do need to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, I stay in my lane, so I can really say that there's a few things that I talk about. One of them I love to, especially this time of year. A lot of people ask me about. So I have a goal structure, and we were talking about why earlier, and that's one of the spaces that we talk about in our goal structure is I say instead of why, I say what's the reason,
Yeah,
because
right.
what is it giving you that you don't already have?
Yeah,
Uh, and so that really becomes, instead of trying to, I'm motivated to do this, I'm motivated to, lose 10 pounds, or I'm motivated to, make this dollar amount. What is the reason?
yeah.
Well, what can you do there? And then
Mhm.
really kind of figuring out, okay, what are the things that you need to employ to get that thing? And then how are you going to make that actionable?
Yeah,
And so then now, and then really on the back end, how are you going to track it? So is it going to be a tick or whatever the case
yeah.
may be? I just had somebody yesterday give me some feedback. I guess it's on a recording somewhere, and they took it and they gave me some feedback. Is that they just like, okay, now I need to take all of my vision board and take little and figure out what's the reason behind each one of those things. So they really broke it down for me, and I was like, oh man, that's good to hear. It
Yeah, they took it to heart, and they're gonna
really
do it.
landed.
So what
Yeah.
is I kind of have a two-pronged question. What is the favorite workshop that you teach? And the second part of that is, who are you mentoring or teaching to be a coach?
That's a great question. My favorite is so I do a lot of, like I said, I do a lot of nonprofit work, and so my favorite really is I have a board workshop
Mhm,
to help new boards work together. A lot
mhm.
of times, you have especially nonprofits, they change every year, every couple of years, and it takes them 4, 5, 6 months to ramp up, and all that ramp up time, you're losing money, you're losing all kind of stuff. So really kind of helping them hit the ground running, understand what their roles are, understanding what that looks like for them, really get um, synchronized in. One of the big questions I ask them is, what do you want your other board members to know about you?
Mm, it's a good
That
one.
usually sparks a lot of conversation because board members, they're usually really smart folks, and they're really really ambitious. They want to do stuff, but there's something simple that they want everybody else to know and respect. Going back to Sandy, to your point about that respect, something that they want them to respect, everybody else to respect, and that's that time where they can do that real
That's
easy.
a
So
good one.
uh,
Yeah.
that's my
I like
favorites.
that. Very introspective question. Make them do some thought. That's very thought provoking.
Yeah.
And so, or what groups are you teaching to coach?
So I have a real affinity for inmates, for guys that have been and ladies that have been even in prison and released, or and then veterans. So those are my two groups that I really um, give my time to and focus on. And so really being able to help them understand what this coaching looks like, feels
Mhm.
like, because a lot of them have never had that space to really kind of think and be able to really kind of think about what's next.
Mhm.
You think about both, if you're in prison or you're in the military, you're always kind of told what to do next, where to go,
Yeah.
what to do, what time. And so so when you get out, there's this freedom that you have no idea what to
What to
do
do
with.
with. Right,
So
right. The
you
transition
make that,
is really tough. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you make that really uh, uh, tangible for them to take their experience that they've had and say, okay, you don't have to throw this away, but how do you use this now in a different space?
Sure.
So we
Yeah.
do that. So those are the folks that I really count, and then really being able to say in front of them, I'm a coach, and this is what that looks like. This is how that feels like. I've had a lot of people say, "Man, I really want to do this. I really want to figure out how I do this,"
Nice.
and that's been rewarding.
Mhm. One of my definitions of coaching is eliciting best thinking in others. And I'm sure that giving them the opportunity to really learn to think for themselves and to, share that with others is very empowering.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good. That's good. So
yeah.
what
There's
it,
a oh,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Go
No, I
ahead.
was gonna say a prison entrepreneurship program. It's a
Mm,
nonprofit here in Houston, and they do both. They do inside and outside,
mhm,
uh, and they help um, prisoners that are about to get released, and then
mhm.
they have also an out program that they help help people get understand what entrepreneurship looks like, what it feels like, pitch their ideas. I mean, it's a great program, and really being able to uh, give people hope. I think that's the big thing is, you have something to hope for when you
Sure.
transition to another place in your life. What
Mhm.
does that look like?
Absolutely.
So,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking of entrepreneurs, what is some advice that you would give a young entrepreneur or a transitioning someone going into the world to test their entrepreneurship? What would you tell them?
um, one of my favorite quotes, and I can never say the gentleman's name, but it's is growth responds to structure.
Say that again.
Growth responds to structure.
Oh, okay. Growth responds to structure. Okay. Oh,
So
I like that.
if you can give yourself structure, if you see something works, make it a system.
Yeah.
Don't
Absolutely.
and be consistent with it.
Hmm.
If you say I'm going to make so many calls a week, make those calls a week. What does your system look like? Do you have a script? What use your tools, use AI to get you a little script, and what does that look like? So, and I'm making it really small,
No,
but
it's good.
that structure and that system that you can use to kind of keep is because that system will scale with you and
Yeah,
grow with you, because
absolutely.
you want to be able to grow. now you can say, okay, I've got 7 calls. Now I need somebody else to do 5 calls. This is my structure. This is what has to happen. And now you can go on to something else, but keep that structure so you know how you're growing and how you're moving.
Yeah, you got to build the foundation.
Yeah. If you don't have a foundation, you will crumble.
I think that's really interesting, Bruce, because I come from the world of early childhood education. And that's exactly what we realize in classrooms with kids is that growth responds to structure. The kids did best, felt most secure, felt more creative, were the best that they could be when there was a structure. It was clearly defined what the game plan was. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Human beings, no matter how tall you are, I think they do better with structure than they do with chaos. Because it's really difficult to get your thoughts all together and be able to determine what direction am I going to go now if you don't, like you said, have a structure, have a template of what direction you want to go with your business, whether you with your life, with your your relationships. I mean, it carries down through every area of our life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing because I come from education, and you can't have a learning environment without classroom management, we call it. Which is the structure, and then it can flourish.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's great.
And I stole that from my wife because my wife's been a teacher now for 21 years. And so she's EC through 6. So, it is the lessons I've learned from watching her makes this journey a little bit easier. Yes.
Yeah. You work as a team, right?
Yeah. Yes. Definitely.
Good.
Definitely.
So, Bruce, the way we kind of end our podcast is by asking each of us what's one takeaway from this conversation. So, Bruce, what would you say? What is a takeaway from our conversation today?
I thank you guys. Really, I thank you a lot. This really helps me, I think, validate that I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
I love it when I can have like minds that really understand that this really is about how do we help other people, how do we lift up others and be better ourselves. So I thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being with us. Sandy, what's your takeaway?
I love Dr. Bruce's reminder that growth responds to structure. I think our society could learn something from that.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that. I think that is it's so simple and profound at the same time. Because we as humans, we have to have that basement's got to be built before we start, putting high stories on it. So we are so thankful that you came on with us today. And we want to invite you back again. If you have something special you want to share with us, or if you just want to come back and talk about organizational development or coaching, we're here and we would love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your childhood and your growing up years too, because I think there's a lot of stories probably that are in that.
Yeah, more than just selling pears. He was up to that. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to say goodbye, but I want you to hang on just for a bit while we close off because I've got a debrief when we're on the other side. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for joining us.